Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast. It is a Wednesday edition. It feels like we should have football now. Do we really need a third preseason game, Nick? I feel like it's time. They're playing the Cowboys, and I know they're doing some, there's still some rough decisions, but it feels like a lot of those probably have already been made. Man, I'm ready for football. Do I really need this Dallas Cowboys third preseason game, or would I rather see more football more sooner, Nick?
We've been talking about it on here. I know that somebody, I think it was in this chat, was really against me on it. Like, I just get rid of one of the preseason games, like you were talking about, make it two joint practices as well, and add the extra regular season game with an extra bye week. I think that has to be non-negotiable if you're playing 18 games, especially with all the international travel that's starting to come here. I think that's just what's coming down. But the Broncos had the two joint practices. They treated the first preseason game like the last one where the starters got it, but they got their work in the joint practices, which is more of a controlled environment that the coaches seem to prefer anyway. So I know it doesn't, probably not as good for the fans, but regular season's coming and they got us by the freaking hook anyway. So I'm ready for football, no doubt. And it's right around the corner. I mean, it feels, we're obviously covering the NFL show, but like college always comes first and I feel the college football in the air right now. This morning I was drinking my coffee. I'm like, man, I'm excited to watch DJ Lagway. Like that, just like all of a sudden it was hitting me. It's like, oh, I'm ready for some highlight throws, man.
DJ's good. We're going to actually talk. Field Yates came out with his mock draft. I think it was this morning. It might have been yesterday, but I saw it this morning. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's going to cut into this show and some of the things we like to do here, which is talk draft a lot because the Falcons don't have a first-round draft pick, but we'll still get into it. But there's some kind of interesting things about that draft that I want to get into a little bit later. First off, though, we do go live every Monday and Wednesday in the morning because we like having the conversation with y'all. It's just more fun making sure that we're having talks with you. James was the first one in today. He says, good morning from Naples, born and raised in the Roswell area, retired down in Naples in 2012. Well, I'm not too far from where you were. I grew up right down Shallowford Road down in East Cobb from Roswell. It was almost easier telling people that, oh yeah, East Cobb, Roswell than Marietta, because Marietta was very different than East Cobb and Roswell. But still addicted to the birds. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Listen, if you only were a Falcons fan during the good times, you wouldn't be a Falcons fan, And to quote famous Offspring song from like the mid 90s, I think it was, the more you suffer, the more it shows you really care, right? So there you go on that one. Rusty's suffering. Rusty needs some wins here. I'm our like group grump leader. Rusty's like second in command. Mm-hmm. Says Tampa has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and the kid from Ohio State plus Kate Otten. You pronounce the Abuka. Who's the guy they took at wide receiver, Nick?
Egbuka.
Abuka. I'm not looking at it. I figured I'd butcher his name because I haven't.
Nope, he did it. He's out from my area along I-5 Washington, and it sounds like he's looking pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah. And they've had a bunch of injuries though too. They lost a number 3 receiver for some time. Probably won't get to play. Antoine Whitfield's been battling a hamstring.
Tristan Wirfs is the big one. Yeah.
Is an offensive tackle. So they've, and then I think one of their inside linebackers is maybe a doubt in 2 weeks. So they've got some injury concerns also. And then it's in the dome. It should be a home field advantage. The Falcons have played pretty well at Mercedes-Benz. That it should be pretty good. But I agree with you here. I hope our cornerbacks behind AJ are ready, and hope the pass rush hits the ground, or it's going to be in a shootout week 1. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it was in the 60s a couple times last year, including 550 yards from Kirk Cousins. I think it's going to be one of those 32-30s again. Nick.
Yeah, it'll be fun to follow. That'll probably be some must-see TV. I mean, the Saints are the Falcons' biggest rivals, but with how the Buccaneers have been playing, feelings shift. I know that the Broncos Raiders were the biggest rivals for a while, and right now it's like, screw you, Kansas City. We still hate the Raiders, no doubt, but like, God bless, we're tired of Kansas City. So
yeah, Tampa's the team to beat. Yeah, in the division, but the Saints are the biggest rival. That'll never change. and that goes back to NFC West days. You know, you guys they've stayed in the same division. The Saints and Falcons have been in the same division forever. So, you know, Tampa Bay is kind of new-ish, you know, for old guys like me and most old-time fans. And it could change eventually, but right now, definitely the Saints. Definitely the Saints. Austin, good morning. Hope you're doing well. John, good to see you. I did get your pictures. I want to show some of those here. I need to remember to do that next Monday.
And Scott, I do want to say something
here. Morning all. One step closer. Go ahead, Nick.
StreamYard's being really weird, so they're not flashing the colors right now for the super chat. So I see we got here from Denver Luke. It says 199 from Denver Luke. Good morning, Scott and Nick. So it was doing this last night too. I don't know what the heck's going on. It makes it significantly harder on us, but just wanted to make sure that you were aware. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case tonight, and I can't click them. So
I don't see it because usually they'll at least start, but
yep, it was at 5:44
a.m. It hasn't happened on this channel as much. I don't see Denver Luke's. There we go. Denver Luke super chat. There we go. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
It has made it harder. Makes it, you know, when your producer doesn't show up on a Tuesday night for you, it does definitely make it harder to do.
Yeah, that was and Carl doesn't have the ability to click them either, but we managed. we managed. But yeah, good to see you, Denver Luke. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you for the support. Appreciate you breaking the ice with the super chats with the first one for the day. And he gives us the coffee emojis. I got my Lion coffee. I'll drink to that. And yes, there are a lot of injuries in Tampa. I'm still up here on the chat saying good morning to folks like Pamela. She says, good morning, Scott and Nick in the chat and everyone. Happy Wednesday to all of y'all as well. Sammy, good to see you. Psalm is here. Sam has good advice. Hit the like, everybody. And there's the topic. Guys, I didn't know what to topic the show around, so I went with kind of a headline grabber with Harry Douglas. He went on the Pat McAfee show. So this isn't like local radio where he says, you know, I expect good things from them. I mean, he's on arguably the biggest sports show in the United States right now, talking about Michael Penix, Kyle Pitts breaking out, and he expects fireworks from the show. He repeated a lot of the stuff that we've said on here, but he did it on a much bigger microphone. They're golfing buddies. You know, they've got this bond. Kyle Pitts his contract is up. He's got a lot of incentive. He looks healthy this year. I'm with Harry on this one, and I've said it, Nick. As big as a cynic as I am, I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a good year. I do. It might not be 1,400 yards. I think that's Drake. You know, I think Drake is your big time guy. But we said 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's a top 5 tight end, right in that neighborhood. I think he can be in that neighborhood of he's going to be a top 5 tight end this year. I think it can happen.
I think it can happen. I am not Charlie Brown with Lucy in the football again.
I know.
I need to see it. He's somebody also who, God bless him. I do worry about his overall toughness. Football is a very physical game, and I feel like he's somebody, if he has one, niggle, some people like downgrade from 100% to like 80%. He goes from 100 to 20% sometimes when he has the injury. So I need to see it, Scott. I'm really excited about the potential, and it's the big reason we've advocated for. I know a lot of people in the chat have been just done getting hurt by him and having their hopes up and just want to get rid of him, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Put the picture of the old dog away. I can't look at it anymore. It just hurts too much. I feel like we get a little bit of that with Kyle Pitts, but a lot of potential. He, for his own sake, he better step up. But I need to see it. I'm excited, but I'm been hurt too many times. I mean, this is somebody who, Scott, I was meaning to tell you guys this. I know we're in the thick of football season around the corner because I had a dream of I was in a fantasy football draft. And I've always been hurt because I take Kyle Pitts. Oh, this is the year 2, year 3. I'm taking a little early. I never have a good tight end. Wasted pick. But I got snaked in round 1 and round 2. I was about to get Bijan Robinson. He went 1 pick before. About to get Drake London round 2, went 1 pick before. That's the only bit of my dream that I remember. Why am I dreaming about a bleeping fantasy football draft? But
you're having Atlanta Falcons dreams and things go badly. You are turning into an Atlanta guy.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
Austin, good morning. Says I'd love for Pitts to break out. I'm wondering if Moody will miss some time now, and if he does, will Washington step up? He's had a good camp. Yeah, when we went through this, I think there will be 6 wide receivers taken because I think one of those spots comes from the running back. where they took 4 last year, but one of them was Avery Williams, and he's not on the team. He's up in Philly, I believe, trying to make their squad as a return guy. Agnew is your wide receiver / return guy, so he counts. So not counting him, well, with counting him, I think there'll be 6 wide receivers. And it's Casey Washington and who? Does Chris Blair possibly make it, or is that 6? If it's Mooney, London, Ray, Agnew, Washington, Hodge. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the 6 right there, and I think that's who ends up making it. But as far as will Casey Washington step up, he's had a good camp. I think people are thinking of this too much as a 1-for-1 replacement. I don't think Casey Washington ends up getting a lot more snaps, because I think your alignment with Washington out, your replacement for Washington, is going to come from the combination of Ray McCloud and Kyle Pitts. I think and I've harped on this a bunch because I don't like it when they call it 12 personnel. Oh, the Falcons led the league in 12 personnel. Well, Kyle Pitts is not a tight end. If Charlie Warner's on the field, Kyle Pitts is either lining up at wide receiver or slot. That's 11 personnel. I think that's going to be your lineup, Austin. I think it's going to be London, Pitts, Ray, and Charlie Warner as your 11/12 personnel if Darnell misses some time. And it wouldn't totally surprise me if Darnell misses a little time when you miss all of camp, but he still has 2 weeks, and these guys are superhuman. They are a different caliber of human being when it comes to recovering from injury. It's just science. They're just different types of people and their ability to recover. So we'll see. But he's been out since the very first day of camp. Temporary expectations, but I don't think it's Casey that ends up getting a lot more snaps. I think compared to last year, I think it's Kyle Pitts and Ray that end up picking up the slack there.
Here's your chance, Kyle Pitts, baby. You got early on, especially if Mooney is out for a bit, or they could just really double down on London and Bijan Scott. It could go the other way as well, especially when you have a young quarterback. Sometimes they like their security blanket and having a good running back that you can dump the ball off to, or a number one, especially when you got an arm like Penix, where you can just oh, there's no window there. I'll make the bleeping window. So we'll see. But yeah, chance for Penix if Mooney is dealing with anything early on. And that's a concern with Mooney because we had some problems with Chicago with injuries. So hopefully not the case.
Yeah, watching Penix throw the ball, you think about the deep out routes and being able to hit those and the slants and stuff, but it's everything really. His arm strength, you don't need to create as much separation as when Kirk Cousins was throwing the ball, or even Matt Ryan for that matter. Matt was so good with anticipation and accuracy, but if Penix can be accurate, these guys don't need. It's the time I can come around and spin on a button hook with a guy draped all over my back, and the ball is there. He doesn't have time to even close and get his arms around to knock the ball down. You need just a breath of separation, and I've seen it in camp where these guys come out of their breaks, they're fairly well covered, and boom, the ball is on them before the defensive back has a chance to recover. And those are coming in the intermediate routes. Really, those are the 7-8 yard routes that are chain movers that are great to set up the big play on 2nd and 2. I love 2nd and 2. So I think that's going to be a subtle difference that we don't really talk about when we talk about Michael Penix's arm strength. Is those short to intermediate routes, getting the ball on the guy quickly so that they can either, I've got my quick 8 yards and now I'm tackled because I'm in traffic, or get it to them quickly so they have time to get their head up and do some damage in the open field then in the screen game or in this quick stops, that type of stop routes, screens, that type of stuff.
One thing I think Falcons fans will appreciate that I think Broncos country hears but doesn't necessarily want to internalize is that arm talent isn't necessarily how far you can throw it, but it's velocity. It's the speed from A to B. And the true testament of arm talent is the opposite field, out route 15, 20 yards down the field. And yes, Bo Nix had the really good, maybe the longest air yards throw last season, but how often do you get a chance to actually see quarterbacks throw the deep balls like that? Maybe once every other, that far, once every other week. The real testament of arm talent is fitting it in, especially a cover 2 window, opposite field hash mark on an out.
And for me, Nick, the other part Yeah, for me, the other part of it is what can you do when you're off platform? This goes back a long way for me. And yes, I hold grudges. This old Irishman, the Auburn Tigers were recruiting a kid out of Fort Lauderdale named Sean White, and he was 6 foot, 5'0", and underarmed. Well, he won the farthest toss contest. It's not a javelin throw. Quarterback is not the javelin. I see high school quarterbacks that can throw the ball 60 yards downfield every day. Watch what happens when they're on their back foot, when there's a little pressure on them. And Matthew Stafford's as good as anybody I've ever seen doing it. Yeah. As far as being able to get velocity on the ball when you can't step into the throws. That's arm talent. Mm-hmm. And Michael Penix has it. I mean, he's got it. He's got a golden arm. There's more to it than that, than playing than to succeed, to play quarterback. We know this, or else these super toolsy guys that are busts wouldn't have been. I mean, one of the most gifted throwers of the football I've ever seen was Jamarcus Russell. Mm-hmm. And he was so gifted that he ended up being a number 1 overall pick. He was so gifted throwing the ball, despite all of the red flags around everything else it takes to play quarterback in this league. Ryan Leaf, same way. He was, we could go on and on and on. I remember the old guys. It happens more and more often. We got several more super chats coming in. I want to say hello and thank you to Kiera coming in with the super chat. Thank you for the support. It means a lot to us. Helps keep the lights on. Helps us bring you more content. So thank you very much. And Terry's coming in with one also. He says, thoughts on Penix. My thoughts on Penix, and also is Hitman Helms, is he legit? Kind of went through some of my thoughts on Penix here. And as far as the high level looking down on Penix for me is, I think he's in about as good a situation to succeed as anybody could possibly ask for a first-year starting quarterback. He's got a veteran offensive line. He's got 2 good running backs. He's got first-round weapons. He's got a second-year offensive coordinator in the same system. He's 25 years old and mature. It's set up for him to succeed, Nick.
It's set up for him to put up numbers. Mm-hmm. Now, what is success? I'm still wait and see on the defense. And
yeah, but I mean, for Penix, he's set up to succeed. The Falcons, we've got question about the overall record, of course.
I'll push back just a little bit still, Scott, because I think, again, being a Bronco fan, and I'm completely Sean Payton pilled right now because of what he's done on that team, but he's talked about the 2 big things he's looking for 3 things he's looking for to help a young quarterback are the offensive line, the run game, and the defense. And what does he mean by that? By the defense, it's keeping your quarterback out of negative, obvious drop back situations. So what's a negative for a young quarterback? Feeling like they have to put up 35 points to win a game, or feeling like they have to go score a touchdown every single drive versus having to just manage the football game. Now, from an pure offensive output, from a statistical output, that's certainly possible. Like looking at that situation to put up a lot of numbers. Yes, the infrastructure and offense is good,
which is what Huckle's saying here. Hey, he'll have a better season. Yes, numbers wise, but
yeah, very possible.
Real quick, I'm gonna enhance your point, and then I'm gonna go back to this. Yeah. The last few games last year, Penix was put in a situation where he had to throw the ball and had to put up plays, and the Falcons lost. Mm-hmm. I don't want him to be playing from behind all year. I don't want him to be playing from behind all year. What I want is the opposite, where they're playing with a lead, and now you can turn those rookie edge rushers loose.
Yep.
Now I can turn those rookie edge rushers loose and let them pin their ears back and have some fun.
Yeah. But that's my main point. Sean Payton has talked about it a lot as far as setting up a young quarterback to succeed. He comes back to the defense almost all the time, and it's purely to do with the quarterback not having to be we have to drop back and pass it every situation, and the defense knows that you have to push the football, where you're not in a management situation for the quarterback. There's a lot more on your plate. So I agree completely from a personnel situation and a statistical
offensive infrastructure.
Yes.
From an offensive infrastructure place, Michael Penix is in as good a place as any first-year quarterback could hope to be.
Yeah. I mean, really, we talked about it last year as well. The only one that was arguable, Scott, was J.J. McCarthy, and that's because we love Kevin O'Connell and you have freaking Justin Jefferson.
Right.
But
now they've lost Jordan Addison. he's coming off an injury. JJ's coming off of an injury too. So, as a first, and he didn't play at all last year, and he didn't even practice. So from all of it, all coming together as one, as first-time starters, I put Penix ahead of McCarthy because of the age, the experience, the weapons that are there. Other than JJ's Justin Jefferson's, he's on a different level. As much as we love Drake,
he's unbelievable. Yeah,
Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are right now on a different level than everybody else for me.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And then, of course, Kevin O'Connell is probably one of the top 5 play callers in football. But I digress. You're completely right. It's a great infrastructure. Offensive line's got to stay healthy. But that's, knock on wood. If everybody drink, Nick said they have to stay healthy. We'll also drink to Abel here. $9.99 coming in here. So annoying that Super Chat's doing this. You deserve to be flashed a color for the Super Chat. The NFC West is why I hate the Niners as much as I hate the Saints. Man, that is those are some deep-rooted hates. I love it. That's like the family.
Abel's an 80s fan, okay?
Okay, yeah.
And the Rams, and especially the Niners, drubbed the Falcons through the 80s. Especially the Niners just drubbed them. They go out there. I mean, God, Charles Dimry giving up 5 touchdowns to Jerry Rice. I mean, these are deep-seated scars that we're talking about here. And, they may have similar colors after Tampa Bay went from their orange, but it's still the Niners that kind of gives the older fans the twitches when we see those guys out there. LA had their ups and downs, and it was okay. We suck, but at least we can beat the Saints. That was what it was like being a Falcons fan in the 80s.
Yeah, man, I can't talk about it. My first football memory is 1997, 1998, Broncos winning the Super Bowl, and hooked since then. We got Justin. Why is it never mentioned that our defense ended up the season top 3 in sacks? Soon as we fired Jimmy, the defense has a scheme issue last season. What position on defense are we worried about this season?
I remember the Falcons had 11 sacks through 10 games. After they made a change, I think it might have been during the bye week, and started getting more aggressive, they went on a run. They started getting more sacks. And Justin, the reason why really is because of how they were getting those sacks. They were having to throw numbers at the line of scrimmage because the defense also went in the tank after that, because they may have been putting more pressure on the quarterback and getting to him more often, but then they were still dropping back 15, 20 yards, and everything was underneath. So, if I go back and look at the percentage of the completion percentage numbers, teams were still completing 70% of their passes or better against the Falcons in that stretch, and they were giving up more points. So the scheme was never came together where everything was in harmony of, oh, hey, if I'm going to blitz, I need to press. Or, if I'm not going to blitz and I'm not going to get any pressure, I still can't play punt return as my core defense. And the numbers went worse when they started getting more pressure because they still didn't know how to play defense behind the pressure. And the only way they were getting pressure on the quarterback was with blitzes. And that's a recipe for disaster. You've got to be able to get some pressure on your front 4. The best passers, I've seen 2 guys doing it in camp, consistently beating the guys in front of them. Leonard Floyd, we don't talk as much about him, but Leonard Floyd's looked like a beast out there. And then James Pierce Jr. James Pierce Jr. forced a turnover on a 4-man rush coming off the edge against the Tennessee Titans. That's what we have to see for this to be a good defense. And that's why you invested heavily in 3 new pressure players coming off the edge, because you couldn't get pressure without sending the house.
Yeah, but that is an interesting stat. I mean, I knew they changed the scheme a lot last season after the passive feels like an understatement defense that we saw early on, but I didn't know they were 3rd in total sacks.
I don't know that it was exactly 3rd, but I know it was definitely higher. They had the X most amount of sacks. That was something that Raheem talked about a lot. Just, hey, we are getting more pressure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you're not playing really any better defense.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul on that one, but it worked a little better for sure. But you're right, Scott. Tale as old as time. Since the modern era of football, what's the best defense? Generate organic pressure with 4, drop 7, and every once in a while you can bend the rules. But who the 4 are also doesn't always have to be the same. It doesn't have to be static by any means. But yeah, we've seen it with Kansas City, many times here. You get there like, oh, this is a juggernaut of a team. A team that absolutely, who do they get beat up against? A team that is just unbelievably whipping them up front with a 4-man pressure and dropping everybody else into coverage. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, and again, after you're looking at this after the bye week. They played horribly on offense against the Chargers and lost 17-3 in a game that they absolutely should have won. They got blown out by the Vikings. They played like ass against the Raiders, and Kirk finally got benched. And then it was the Giants, okay? The Giants were tanking. The Giants were in tank mode. And then they gave up 30 and 44 to the Carolina Panthers against a rookie quarterback who was really good, by the way. But what was his I'd have to look up Jaden Daniels' box numbers. It's going to take me a second to do that. But again, the Falcons for the whole gave up 70% completion rate for the season, which was worse than the NFL. So that's why. I mean, that's why they're not talking about it, because they had to fabricate pressure. They couldn't get pressure without exposing something else, and they got exposed.
Yeah, you don't want that.
I know.
You don't want to get exposed.
You got to cover yourself, boys.
Yeah, issues with coverage for sure. But yeah, we'll see how it changes this season. New defensive coordinator in there. Ulbrich has some skins on the wall, if you will, and he's been very much more a rush 4, drop 7 guy. But that could be Saleh as much as it could be Ulbrich. So
there's definitely a different attitude here. If they can, again, as Nick says all the time, eat your veggies on first down, get in a 2nd and long, get into 3rd and 5 or longer, definite passing situations. The player then to watch is Caden Ellis. Mm-hmm. They've got 4 guys up front, and then Caden's a wild card. And I've watched him jump up mug linebacker, even an edge with coming up as one of the edges with Walker, Pierce, or Floyd farther off of there. Now the left tackle, he's looking to his left side, and he sees Caden Ellis and James Pierce over there on his side. That's nerve-wracking, and that's where you've got the personnel now. Again, and the question we had last week that Nick and I, it was funny because I was here by myself and had just talked about, is James Pierce Jr. better than Arnold Ebiketie right now? And as a pass rusher, yes, I think he is. I think he is better at beating his guy one-on-one. Is he a better overall player? Maybe not. But Ebiketie is not beating guys one-on-one consistently. He hasn't done it for his first 3 years. He's been getting cleanup sacks or, schemed up type of sacks. The Falcons drafted Walker and Pierce to put pressure on players without having to scheme them up. And that's what you're hoping for when you use first-round draft picks on edges.
Yeah, without a doubt. So it'll be fun to see. I also want to toss, you talked about left tackle looking to his left and seeing Pierce and Ellis. Could also be Billy Bowman out there from the nickel, getting that pressure looks as well. So yeah, it'll be fun to see. But as you mentioned, Scott, got to eat your veggies on 1st and 2nd down to do the fun, exotic things. Why don't we see NASCAR out there? Look at all these young edge rushers. It's constantly 2nd and 2. You cannot live in light personnel if you're getting blown off the line of scrimmage. It's not going to happen.
I've hedged on this again. Once I saw Trice in person, and he'll make this team. He might be a first down only. They might play him like a nose guard. Trice brings something a little bit differently. I don't expect much from him in a pass rush scenario, which is what I've talked about. Who's he going to play over? Floyd, Ebiketie, Pierce, or Walker? No, not on pass rush scenarios. No way. On 1st and 10, he might. He's got 30 pounds on those guys. So if I go one of those 4 edge rushers, if I'm in a 3-4, and then I've got Trice on one side at 275, and then Zach Harrison, David Onyemata, and Ruka Rohro as my front 5, with now Divine Diablo and Caden Ellis behind him. And one of my nickels, you'd have to lose. That's only 4 defensive backs, so I wouldn't necessarily have Billy Bowman out there at that time if I've got 4 guys out there. But they might run the Ryan Nielsen 4-man front with 3 down linemen and 1 stand-up edge, and then your other outside linebacker is Billy Bowman in the slot. So they've got answers. Will they be the right answers? I don't know. I can't wait to find out. I really can't. I can't wait to see these guys in action, especially after suffering through watching that dreadful defensive play last year. I can't wait, because I think it is going to be all you hear, Nick: attack, 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 speed, rotation, energy, attack. That's the mantra of this team in this offseason. Now, will they, in preseason, will they carry that forward? at least they'll start that way. I hope Tampa Bay is really good. And if you get burned by Tampa Bay in week 1, stick with it. Don't abandon ship. Stick with it. We don't want to see any more death by 1,000 cuts drives. You're going to see some. I don't want that to be our whole goal is to not give up the big play. Oh, God. How about big plays of your own? How about some sacks and some turnovers? Fun. I want to have fun watching this team again.
I will say all the attack stuff, Scott. I just keep coming back to it. Personnel-wise, on the field, can you do enough to stop the run? It reminds me of the very famous Mike Tyson quote: "Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth." So luckily, you mentioned the Buccaneers, one of the best offensive lines in football. The last 3 seasons, you play them out of the gate, and they won't have Tristan Wirfs, who, for my money, was absolutely robbed of the 99 overall on Madden. Like, I get it. Lane Johnson's great. They're doing the veteran thing. Nobody in the right mind, I think, would take Lane Johnson over Tristan Wirfs healthy right now, but at least anybody in the league. But I digress. I think it's a Penny Sewell versus Tristan Wirfs versus Jordan Mailata conversation at tackle, but that's a entirely different conversation getting off the tracks. But back to the main point. It's the run stopping early on. You can be aggressive all you want. You have to earn those aggressive, fun looks to pin your ears back where you're hunting. You gotta withstand the storm.
Am I a little nervous about the secondary? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. But they have started to be. You couldn't fix everything this offseason. Okay. And the last time the Falcons, I put this in writing a few times on Falcons SI. So you've probably seen it if you've read any of our stuff. The last time the Falcons drafted a corner on day 1 or 2 was AJ Terrell. That was 2020. So they've gone 5 drafts, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, without using a first, second, or third round pick on a cornerback. It shows. It shows out there. They're thin. Your nickel, they used, and it wasn't a safety. That wasn't a nickel back. So on a true outside corner, you throw out Jeffrey Okudah, Mike Hughes is out there. These are stopgap good veterans, a lot better than it was in 2021 when you didn't have any money, but you certainly don't have depth there that some other teams do. And so, yeah, I'm a little nervous about that side of the ball. And speaking of which, let me get into the chat and see what y'all have to say a little bit on some of these things. There's a lot of old time talking in here about Dion and Jerry. Dion got there in 89, and it wasn't Jerry Rice wasn't lighting up Dion. He was lighting up Demery. Poor Charles Demery, who wasn't an awful player, but again, Jerry Rice had a 5 touchdown game against the Falcons, and a lot of that was on Charles Demery. I don't know. I don't remember well enough. Are they rotating safeties over? What are they doing? Are they leaving them in man coverage? It wouldn't surprise me. But he did have 5 touchdowns, and a lot of that was against Charles Demery. Bob Birdie saying Pierce is going to feast on backup Bucks tackle in week 1. Watch Leonard Floyd too, guys. Don't sleep on Floyd. Leonard Floyd is a double-digit sack guy, and he's going to be put in situations, at least that's the plan, where he's going to be a designated pass rusher type. So he should be fresh and get going, and Floyd looks really, really good rushing the passer in camp.
Yeah, useful player, no doubt. I mean, you have depth there, Scott. Now, is it good depth? What's the ceiling look like for the unit overall? But Floyd is a useful player, no doubt. So we need a few of these guys to step up. But we got Cam coming in and says, how do you feel about D. Alford week 2 against the Vikings? I just saw on Twitter, Scott, we were talking about the Vikings earlier with Addison stuff and Jefferson, that the Vikings are actively exploring the wide receiver trade market right now. So who will it be? It might be somebody who's not even on the team right now. But I'll tell you what, with how good Kevin O'Connell is, you ask how do you feel about D. Alford week 2 against the Vikings? How do you feel about D. Alford, period? I think is the bigger question, because what the Vikings are going to do is isolate their best receivers, because the offense gets to dictate where the ball goes, and you don't have a lot of man match cornerback play anymore. So what's going to happen? They're going to do everything they can to isolate Justin Jefferson or TJ Hawkinson against their weakest coverage, the Falcons' weakest coverage players. So you can't hide people in the secondary anymore, really. So I don't feel great in general because we keep coming back to the secondary, and it's a question, Scott. So
there's a phrase for this, and I've got to look it up because we do so many Q&As that I need to find out what this is called. But when you assert a falsity to ask a question. So right here, for me, Cam, how do I feel about D. Alford week 2? I don't know that he's on this team. So that's how I feel about it. I'm not necessarily concerned about it. I don't know that D. Alford makes this team. I think he probably is. Right now, the one that I worry about right here is Terry says it's Clark Phillips. But what he says is I don't think Clark Phillips, Casey Washington, or D'Angelo alone make the team. I don't think D. Alford and Clark Phillips both make the team, the initial 53. Now, if Clark's out, maybe you pup him or IR him for 4 weeks, but you have to put him on the initial 53 and then cut them and then re-sign somebody else at the same time. With D'Angelo Malone, the discussion we had on Monday, they're cross-training him at inside linebacker. I'd rather have him than JT Bertrand for my fourth linebacker now, or even my third, with maybe Troy Anderson's able to come back. I don't know. But if it came down to Bertrand or Malone at linebacker, I'd rather keep Malone. And then I think Casey Washington is your 6th wide receiver on this team. But fifth, maybe even 4th wide receiver, with wide receivers 5 and 6 being primarily special teams guys in Kaderil Hodge and Jamal Agnew. So I think Casey Washington's on this roster. Clark Phillips, we'll see. I'll be surprised to see him week 1, no matter what on that, Nick.
Yeah, I will be surprised as well. And we've talked about it. It's a little bit unfortunate, Scott. I had a little bit of hopes and dreams that maybe the Falcons would have their first round pick and take AJ Terrell's brother. Is playing cornerback. Yep, that would have been a lot of fun, but he's probably a first round pick. We'll see. Things change. It's anybody who sees a mock draft from August knows how silly it looks compared to.
He was 15th, and he was 15th in Field Yates. And I do want to get in this. We're about to get out of here, y'all. Yeah. But I want to say hello to Anthony. He says, "Hey Scott, Nick, love you guys, love you too." Says, "Can't wait till the season starts. 2 more weeks. I'm so excited." What's the news today? The Falcons for life rise up, Scott and Nick. I don't know. All the news was Monday after we got off. They signed Ben Gucci DiNucci to be a 4th camp quarterback. That immediately signaled that Emory Jones was not healthy after getting his bell rung on Friday night. And they did come up with an injury settlement for him to make that move, because they need a 4th quarterback to go in and run practices for the next week until Tuesday. So Ben DiNucci will be a Falcon for another 6 days. And then he probably won't be there anymore. There's no probably about it. He won't be there anymore. I don't know if you need one for the practice squad, maybe, but can you sneak Easton Stick through waivers? Probably. And then make him a practice squad guy for your 3rd quarterback.
Yeah,
probably. And then they signed Ronnie Perkins, another edge / linebacker he was taken by the Broncos off of, I forget who had drafted him, off of their practice squad, and he ended up seeing a few games with the Broncos, but he's a reserve camp guy that they need on their 90. He won't make the team. So and then Emory Jones did get his injury settlement and was out as well. That was the news. That all happened on Monday, right after we got off the air. Now, logical fallacy, Keith, I think it's right in there too. Talking about, if I said, if I start a question with a falsity, then the question is invalid. There are no invalid questions here, but I will say that I'm not positive. I right now I'd say D. Alford probably makes it and Clark Phillips doesn't. That's where I would go with that. And Billy Bowman's your starting nickel. And in coverage situations on longer yardage, D comes into cover. That's kind of what I see right now. Mactown Dirty, good to see you. Now,
yeah, Scott, I do have the medical term for that. It's a loaded question objection. So that question assumes facts that are not in evidence or a reality. So that's what ChatGPT said real quick. So yeah,
Chris, they only have one cut down now, so we're not doing trackers or anything like that. Roster cut trackers. There's only one. It's Tuesday. Tuesday at 4:00, I think, is the 53 release. And remember, you'll probably see an injured guy or two on the 53, and then they will they will put him on an IR or a pup. I forget all the which is which this, but they put him on an injured list, which he has to then miss 4 games, but he has to be on the initial 53 first to miss those 4 games. Otherwise, he's out for the whole season. And then you can re-sign somebody that you had just cut, assuming that they pass through waivers. Mm-hmm. So expect that to happen. So you might see 1 or 2 guys like a Troy Anderson make the initial 53 and then be placed, and they'll re-sign somebody within 24 hours. But that all happens on Tuesday. Now, real quick, Fieldgates came out with his mock draft over on ESPN. And I feel like they're trolling us, Nick. I really do. I really feel like they're trolling the Atlanta Falcons for not having a first-round pick. And this is why I say it's so important for James Pierce to hit, because if James Pierce hits, then who cares? There's your first-round pick for 2026. But it's a natural emotion feeling to look at this and go, oh, man, I wish we had a first-round pick here. But if it's James Pierce is your first-round pick, you get to use him a year early. But when I'm looking at this, Nick, let's say the Falcons did not take James Pierce Jr. and they had their first-round pick in 2026. What would you say would be the Falcons' biggest needs heading into the 2026 draft?
Well, you know me, it's defensive line, offensive line, always first and foremost. And if you don't have a player there you like, then you tiebreaker further down. So after that, it's value positions, it's cornerback / wide receiver, depending on Mooney's health. But since Penix has been named the starter, Scott, I've been pretty consistent. What's the most important thing for this team building going forward? Having a top 10 offensive line perennially. So that's one that I lean into. That's probably not the answer here, because in the ages and the contracts, I don't remember exactly what the details are with Caleb McGarry's contract.
McGarry and Matthews are basically under financial obligation for 2 more seasons for the Falcons. Now their contracts might run, but the guaranteed money, the Falcons are financially tied to those 2 guys for 2025 and 2026.
So probably not offensive tackle, although always hunting on that spot, Scott. I'm always hunting on that spot.
I absolutely think it's offensive tackle.
You do? Okay, even though they don't have a immediate starting spot, but not center in the first round, Justin Boyd.
Yeah, not center in the first round on this necessarily. But I say this because, you know, my initial thoughts are offensive tackle and cornerback. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't have James Pierce Jr., then you'd still be in the edge market possibly.
And we still might be. I mean, Walker might end up being an off-ball kind of hybrid player. So it's you still
might be, because it's not a great. You could be in for a wide receiver. It's not a great wide receiver draft. All the wide receivers coming out
year later,
they're sophomores right now.
Yeah,
the sophomore class with Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman. Yep. There's an Ohio State and Alabama kid. I forget which is which.
The Alabama kid is Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams is who I was forgetting. Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, and Cam Coleman could be 3 top 10 picks in 20. But I look at Fieldgates and I start counting up the positions. Terry says cornerback, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and center. There are, in the first round of this first draft, there are 5 cornerbacks. There are 5 edge rushers. There happen to be 6 quarterbacks, by the way. So that's good if you've got one, because now you can either trade up and down, or I can get a really high value player, because these guys need quarterback. And there are, count them, 7 offensive tackles.
It's a good offensive tackle class next year. Early on, I refuse to acknowledge Caden Proctor because he broke my heart twice. But it looks like I don't think next season is going to be a special class. A lot of times you get the vibes of that early on, but it's definitely got some potential. The guys who really stand out are the 2 Clemson defensive linemen. I think those are probably the best.
They're both top 5. TJ Parker and Peter Woods are both top 5. One of them's interior and one of them's edge. And then the next edge guy was Keldrick Falk from Auburn.
Yep.
He's a hybrid guy. Like I said, the comp for me on him is a Richard Seymour.
I was going to say that's the name.
Not quite the size, because Richard Seymour played at about 295. Falk goes at about 280.
I was going to say 288. It's close.
But he's a better athlete.
Yeah,
he's got more bend and more twitch than Richard did, and Richard's a Hall of Famer.
I always like to say sledgehammer hands. He's been somebody who's been getting by on God's gifts out there. He's
as
awesome.
Justin says, doesn't mean you won't trade up. Exactly. If I need that guy, why not just keep borrowing up? I'll use my 2027 and 2026.
There you go.
I'd like to see them trade down every so often, but he's 80% trade up. I think they've made 5 trades and 4 of them been up, 1 of them been down on that one. So what point was I going to make on this with the cornerbacks, the offensive tackles? And I forget. There's a couple of players in here that are really highly ranked that are non-premium positions. There's a couple linebackers. There's a linebacker and a safety, like an Ohio State safety that went like 4.
Yep, that's Caleb Downs, who might be the best player in college football. But we had the Malachi Starks conversation last year. Yeah. And I'm sure the linebacker you're talking about, I think Georgia has one, but the one most people like is the Texas kid. I can't remember his name.
And then there was running back Jeremiah Love
from Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, okay. And plus, yeah, you should have spending money on this. You'll get about $20-something million back from Kirk Cousins, which you're going to put into Drake, and you're hoping to be able to put into you need to put some of that into Kyle Pitts. But if Kyle Pitts gets franchised, his cap number won't go up that much. It'll be up from about 11 to 15. So it shouldn't be that much. And honestly, I can lower Drake London's cap number in 2026 by signing him to a contract extension. So his can actually go down compared to his 5th year option. But part of that is I've got to be able to hit on my draft picks. You know, why are the Falcons broke? It's not all Kirk Cousins. They planned for that. It's that you don't have enough rookie contracts that are contributors. Well, now, if I look at the defensive side of the ball, there was like 1 or 2 last year. Now I can go Zach Harrison's still on a rookie deal this year. Ruka Rohro's on a rookie deal. Billy Bowman, obviously rookie deal. Dorless. If I go out to Xavier Watts, there's 5 rookie deal. There's 5 guys. Oh, Braylon Trice, rookie deal. But 7 of the 8, I mentioned that only the Falcons haven't taken a corner on day 1 or 2 since A.J. Terrell in 2020. But in the last 2 drafts, rounds 1 through 4, they've had 8 picks. 7 of them have been on defense. And we talk about balance and stuff, but I think you've got to be young on defense. You can have more older veterans on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line, quarterbacks, those guys can get old. I need youth.
Speed.
And speed on the defensive side of the ball.
And depth.
Right.
And depth. You also need a receiver, but that's one where hitting on Mooney kind of changed the math on you. And what happens with Pitts? Let's reset. Right. It's one of those things. The needs are constantly changing here. So you don't have that first round pick. We're betting on James Pierce right now, and we'll see. I remember a lot of hand wringing, Scott, obviously remember with Michael Penix being drafted, but when the Chiefs traded up for Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, I don't think there'd ever been a Big 12 quarterback to win a playoff game at that point, and Mahomes was erratic coming out of Texas Tech, really talented, but didn't matter one bit after a year down the line, or with Josh Allen too. The Bills trading up to go get Josh Allen the following year. So
let me just go through some of the players on here, Nick. Because he has 6 first-round quarterbacks. I know we've been kind of vague about some of this. That's kind of annoying. Yeah, it is. Arch Manning, he says, I know they said he wasn't coming out, but number 1 overall is hard to turn down, except if it's the Cleveland Browns, number 1 overall. Talk about pouring resources into the quarterback position and still not having one. My goodness. How would you feel if you put all of that into the quarterback position, you were starting Joe Flacco this year? Ugh.
Do the Browns have anything left to feel?
Do they have
anything left to feel? I mean, they just
I don't know. And then number 2 was the Jets taking Lenore Sellers out of South Carolina. And then the Saints get Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. And then Clemson, Peter Woods, 4 to the Giants. Like, they need more defensive line. Put him next to Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, goodness.
Caleb Downs, that's sure. And then Keldrick Falk, offensive tackle, edge, TJ Parker to the Patriots. Sam Levitt out of Arizona State as a Stafford replacement. Anthony Hill is the running back you were talking about. And then 11 Indianapolis Colts are back into the quarterback market with Drew Allard. And that was a little bit of news that affects the Falcons. The Falcons play the Colts in Germany in November 9th, I think. And they have named Daniel Jones their quarterback for the season. It's a closed competition, so to speak. You have to say that at the beginning of the year. But it's a what have you done for me lately league. But Shane Steichen was adamant that this is the move for the season with Daniel Jones. That was some news that came out yesterday. Former number 4 overall pick Anthony Richardson is starting to look like he'll go down on the list of, hey, who are the biggest busts in NFL draft history? And Anthony Richardson's name is they're starting to chisel the A into that list now in the top 10.
Man. Yeah, bummer. I wouldn't mind if the Broncos traded for him just to get him in that Taysom Hill role because he can do some. He was freak.
Can't stay healthy at that though.
Yeah, well, Taysom
he's constantly beat up. When he started as a rookie, he finished one of his first 4 games.
Taysom Hill's also been injured, to be fair. But
now he's gotten older.
Yeah, he also came into the league at 29 years old or something, 28 years old. But he's bummer for Anthony Richardson because so talented. But a little bit feel the pressure on who's the general manager there. I cannot remember.
Chris Ballard and coach is Shane Steichen.
And Yep.
If it goes belly up this year, they might clean house also.
And their owner passed away, Irsay, so it would make sense for maybe a new era.
Get my guys. Yeah, I'm gonna get my guys in there, and I think it's his daughter that's kind of running the show there now.
Yeah.
So, and she might not be as forgiving of some of the things, because Ballard, I know Colts fans they've wanted Ballard out for a while now. So, but he got this quarterback, and it's gone belly up right now is what it looks like with Anthony Richardson. Now we're going to make some changes on that one. Justin, it's a toughness thing with AR. Some of it is, and some of it is, he's putting himself in harm's way as a big target. Maybe that would be different if he was a tight end or a receiver out there. He's certainly got the athleticism for it, where he would protect himself a little better because, concussions and shoulder injuries that require surgery, that's not a toughness thing, and those are some of the things that have knocked him out of some games also, cost him most of last season. I think I don't know if he had 2 concussions, but he definitely had a concussion in one of those first games that he got knocked out early. So AR's had some struggles out there, and you got to develop, and he hasn't been healthy enough to develop. So then he's run out of time. This is year 3, and he just lost out to Daniel Jones.
It's a bummer because he is really talented, but coming back to our point earlier, Scott, mentioning about, who was it? Jamarcus Russell. You can have all the physical gifts, but got to come together and play quarterback still. It's not just tools, it's skills.
Yeah, and I don't think that I do believe Anthony Richardson cares. Jamarcus got his money. He just didn't care. Yeah. It's like this was a guy who was blessed with unbelievable physical ability and didn't really like football. Yeah. I don't feel like it's that way with AR. It's just he's just not accurate enough to play the position, to make the routine on that. So let me see what Rusty has to say, and then we're probably gonna get out of here. Rusty, he says with a $5 super chat, y'all are overthinking it. I trade away first round picks all the time in Madden. Move 27 to get 26 and then do it for the next years. Kick the can. Seriously. If I'm going to be playing forever, that never catches up with me. The problem is he gives away other stuff with it. What it costs you to trade that 27. It costs you moving down from a 2 to a 3. Okay, well, that's not that big a deal. But what it costs you then to get to move up 3 spots to get Xavier Watts because you thought he was going to go a little earlier. It cost you a 5th. Yep. Well, those are your depth pieces, man. If I'm giving away 2 picks every draft over the course of 5 years, that's 10 players. If I only hit on 30% of those guys, well, now I got 3 cheap contributors that are on my team that I don't have because I've been trading up all the time. So I like to stack the numbers a little bit. And Terry's he's put pressure on himself to have to hit on those guys because you don't have the numbers to back it up when you're always trading up.
Yep, no doubt. Well, I do need to run Scott here to get over to the Broncos stuff. Thank you for the $5, Rusty. I know it's a joke, but it's
The $5 isn't a joke. That's
No,
hard earned.
no.
So we appreciate it. But we'll get out of here, Nick. Thanks for everything, y'all. I want to say thank you to our super chat superstars like Denver, Kiera, Terry, Abel, and Rusty. Y'all are killing it today. And next Monday, we'll start going through our final 53, because then the Tuesday, I didn't want to do that today because I want to do it Monday, where we start talking about our final 53 projections and see how it goes. And we'll see how the rotations go this week. And then we'll have a week off where we start talking, a little college football, and then it'll be game week. It's almost here, y'all. We've made it. I'm kind of off the 3-game bandwagon already. I don't really need to see the Cowboys and Falcons this Friday. I don't. I'm ready for football.
Yeah. Yep. It's just at this point, get us to the main course, right? Like, oh, another appetizer. Like, oh, and this one's what would be a really not a good one. Just trying to think of something that's it's a coconut shrimp. I'm not a shrimper. Hopefully not the radio. Did you see the Walmart thing, Scott? The Walmart recall, the radioactive shrimp.
No.
Okay. Yep. Crazy. So yeah, we don't want
the size for society, not for the team for a change. That's progress as far as what we do here. Let us pray. Speaking of lettuce and radioactive shrimp, Justin Boyd says, rise up. Thanks to all of y'all for being here today. Our super chat superstars helping to keep the lights on, keep our forehead nice and my forehead nice and shiny. Garrett will be back. So you put Chat GTP in my head with Garrett, and now I call him Garrett Chapman. It's Chapman. Garrett will be back Thursday at 6:00. Make sure you're tuning into his show. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Thanks for being here, everybody. Y'all have a hell of a football weekend.
Peace.